On today's show, the Dallas Mavericks offensive issues strike again, and there's one man to blame for it. On today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm gonna get a city like that.
Dogs, all of us, all five.
You are Locked On Mavs.
Great, Wesley.
Your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast.
No one's dying.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Still can't leave me alone.
Your team every day.
Gotta be born with a dog blood.
Welcome, you're locked on to the Dallas Mavericks, your team every day. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member covering the Dallas Mavericks for 10 years. Thanks for being an everydayer, making Locked On Mavs your first listen today. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Check out FanDuel right now and get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Joining me, as always, on the postgame prodigy, the great Slightly Biased YouTube channel. What you got for me, Slightly Biased?
New quotes in the intro?
Yeah.
Nice. I
had to make it less sad, even though this is a sad game that we're debuting it in.
Yeah, for sure. I couldn't hear the quotes. I wasn't paying full attention. What was it? Where were the new ones?
Got the Naji Marshall, dogged up. Dogs, all of them, all five. Greatest post-game quote of the season so far. That was a huge one there. And then the 80 one starts is, I'm going to give the city life back.
Okay, all right.
I would like for him to give the city life back.
Yeah, we're waiting for that, though.
He's got to come back on the court first.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Today's episode, we'll get into the Mavs' loss against the Warriors. We'll talk about PJ Washington, another good game for him. Everybody else, terrible. So we'll talk about them. Jason Kidd also finally gave the Mavericks fans what they want. And I'll tell you what that is a little later. But let's start here, Slightly Biased. The Mavs have had some offensive issues recently, and the trade obviously changes the Mavericks' whole offensive scheme, right? I know there are some people that hate saying stop talking about Luka. It's part of it. There's now a post-Luka Mavericks where it is.
What do you mean stop? It's like the biggest story of the season. Like, what do you mean stop talking about it?
Biggest story of the franchise besides winning the title, probably. But there is a post-Luka Mavericks now where you have to figure out, all right, what is the offense? And even in the game against the Pelicans, where I felt like they played well, they obviously won the game. We're talking about the Mavs have silenced some critics of Jason Kidd and of Kyrie and some other people. That their offense still struggled in that game too. And the Pelicans had the 30th ranked defense in the NBA. Now you play the Golden State Warriors, who you've actually beat before. The Mavs have already beaten them with Jimmy Butler. And they didn't have PJ. They didn't have Exum last time. They get those guys back. They both start. And the Mavs still have these stretches in this game, which makes more sense than the Pelicans one. But stretches where they just cannot score at all. Warriors go on a 16-0 run in the first quarter. That was basically it. The Warriors just ran away with it at that point. Steph gave you the night in the third quarter. That's how bad the Mavs offense was, is that he was like, I think this is done in the third quarter. The Mavs offense, I think, comes down to a couple things. I don't think Kyrie had a great game in this one. The Mavs have kind of just put Kyrie on an island and have said, all right, you got to go get your points, get your buckets. And the Warriors doubled up and the Warriors sold out on him. And we've seen that before. But then slightly, like, where do they go after that?
Yeah, it doesn't help that Kyrie, he's the tone setter for this team. The team's going to go as he goes now, especially. Starts the game, first quarter, 0 points, 0-5 from the field. Just some uncharacteristic misses, some, layups. Like he had that missed layup in the first quarter where he slows down. He has a wide open lane, slows down, and tries to draw a foul on Jimmy Butler. And Jimmy Butler pulls the chair, and then Kyrie misses a layup. So it wasn't a good first quarter from Kyrie. And I think that just kind of trickled down. And when you play a team, like defensively, like this Warriors team now, the Warriors go small as well. Like they're kind of in the same boat as you, where they don't really play a lot of bigs. Draymond, we know, is one of the better small ball fives we've seen in recent memory. But they don't have like a traditional center, so they can switch a bunch, and that can throw a wrinkle in things for this Mavericks team that lacks in the creator department outside of Kyrie Irving. One of the biggest concerns about this team after the trade, and especially one of my, obviously, frustrated at the trade itself, but then my other frustrations at the deadline was I just felt like if you were really dead set on winning this year, you really need another creator, like really badly. Just one that you could rely on. And you see it when Kyrie has a rough start to the game. Just not a lot of other options for this team. They turn the ball over 6 times in the first quarter, 10 times in the first half. Tough. Whenever you're going to lose the rebounding battle in pretty much every game you play, you can't turn the ball over at that frequency at all, because you're just going to really struggle to keep up in the shots department. And that's a number that we've kind of monitored a little bit. And the Warriors outshot the Mavericks in this game by 15. So just something to keep in mind there.
The rebound numbers were ridiculous because it's not like the Warriors played big guys, right? You let Brandon Bajemski who is as tall as us, gets 13 rebounds, like season high for him.
Yeah, Pods gets 13 boards. It's just kind of a balanced rebound. Guy Santos gets 8 rebounds, 5 offensive rebounds. A lot of that's guys crashing from the Guy Santos. A lot of that is guys crashing in from the perimeter, and that's on the players, their effort level, and boxing out and finding a body. But I do want to shout out to the Warriors. I think they played a really, really good game today, and the Mavericks, just weren't ready to answer the call.
The going into this game, the FanDuel line was Warriors by 9, and I was like, what does FanDuel know? The Mavs beat them before.
Yeah,
they're getting PJ back. What's going on? And I forgot to give them the jersey retirement bump. Every team on a jersey retirement night gets a bump where they just go. It was Andre Iguodala's jersey retirement bump, and he got his jersey retired. He got honored after the game, which meant Rob Pelinka, his former agent, was also in attendance. Which I don't know. That didn't make me feel. That didn't make me feel good.
When they first painted that, I was like, "What is he doing there?" And then I was like, "Okay, he's the agent. That's fine."
He's just watching the wreckage of what he's created. Like, look at this. So they got that bump. The Warriors did look really great. I mean, this is they played really well. They've played really, really well since the Jimmy Butler trade. Their only loss to the Mavericks so far in that, and so felt good about the Mavericks maybe getting this one. But then the Mavericks, for as good as the Warriors look, the Mavericks look just as bad.
Yeah,
just as bad. And we'll talk about some of the other issues, effort issues. But to go back to the offense, I think I mentioned at the beginning of the show, the one person to blame is honestly Nico Harrison, because they didn't get that other creator. And you're relying on Dante Exum to start, Klay Thompson as your other kind of initiator, Dinwiddie off the bench. He took one shot this whole game. They tried Jaden Hardy in the third quarter when things were kind of pretty much out of reach at that point. You didn't look to Max Christie too much. He only took 5 shots his first game, not hitting 15 points.
Yeah,
which stinks. Like, okay, you have this offense by committee now with this team. The way we talked about. All right, they have all these different guys. We talked about this last game. All these different guys that can score 20 points for you. Now you've got to set them up to do that, and you don't just have a generational offensive engine to do that anymore. It's got to be set up for them, and it didn't feel like it was being set up for them. And I think not having a second initiator, like you said, is really held them back. And so, I blame Nico for this.
Well, yeah, of course. And then I think all of those problems you mentioned get exacerbated by the fact that you don't have any centers, you don't have AD, who's going to be, sort of your next offensive hub, kind of. You don't have big, so you don't have like a pick and roll game, really. You don't have somebody in the middle of the floor that you can reliably go to. So all of those problems that we discussed get made worse by the injuries. That's why we've been saying on here, I've been saying on here, and I read the comments every now and then. People get upset because I have been like, it's not that sustainable to win games like this when you're this small. Just because some of these problems are going to rear their ugly head, and then you're going to have games inevitably where the role guys that have been playing so well for you are just they're going to have stinkers, and they collectively had a stinker today. And I thought, again, the Warriors did such a good job defensively because you saw PJ Washington get double teamed quite a bit in this one. Yeah. Like, they weren't even going to let PJ get his post ups off. They sent help on Moses Brown when he got the ball in the middle of the floor. Like the Warriors did a great job of forcing guys like Naji Marshall, and this is a concerning thing for me. They didn't really even care that Naji Marshall was open for 3 at any point in this game.
Left that guy, left him alone.
Big concern in the playoffs. And then you force PJ Washington 3 turnovers, force him to make decisions and pass out of double teams. Klay Thompson 2 turnovers, Moses Brown 3 turnovers, Jaden Hardy 4 turnovers, granted late in the game. So that's a problem for the Mavs.
The Mavericks had a bunch of problems. Let's talk about some of them. Which ones can be corrected, and what did Jason Kidd give Mavericks fans that they've been asking for a long time? We'll talk about that and more coming up. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by DoorDash. Go to DoorDash, and right now you can get $10 off or 50% off your next order if a player scores 50 or more. We didn't get that in this game for the Mavericks. Luckily, it didn't happen for the Warriors either. But if it did happen to the Warriors, and let's say Steph decided to stay in a little longer and go for more than 30 and got 50, you can get 50% off an order up to $10 or more the next day from noon to midnight on DoorDash. Go check it out. You have to have Dash Pass to sign up. So sign up for that Dash Pass. Get ready to save. When any player scores 50 or more in a game, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order the next day, up to $10 off. Just use the promo code NBA50, NBA, the number 5, the number 0, from noon to midnight after a 50-point game on eligible orders at participating merchants. Must have active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. Check it out. Again, The 50 point or more deal is only on Dash Pass, so get it on DoorDash right now.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, what we call our listeners. We appreciate you for checking out the show. If you want to get more updates on the Dallas Mavericks and get insight and get messages on game days, who's playing that day, I'm doing a standings watch thing where I'll text you every single night after the games are done. This is what happened in the standings. This is where the Mavericks stand, and we'll be watching it all together. Subscribe to the Locked On Mavs text line, the insiders. You get straight access to it. 214-643-8637. It helps support the show as well. All right, Slightly. I'll just do this. Jason Kidd gave Mavericks fans something that they've been wanting for a long time. And we talked before the show, and you don't know what it is, which I think is funny.
I don't, but I'm anxious.
Mavs fans have been asking for the Lively Gafford lineup. Let's just see it. Can we just see it, what that looks like with the two bigs on the floor? And Jason Kidd has said, no, we're not going to do that. And then he gave you 5 whole minutes at the end of the game of Moses Brown and Kyler Kelly.
Nice. Full disclosure, I got some chores done around the house in the fourth quarter.
So did every other Maverick that's in the every Maverick in the rotation.
Hey, Kyler Kelly +4 though, so the minutes supposed to work.
He had a huge dunk. He had a massive dunk in there. But yeah, you had garbage time anyway. You get 2 bigs, and I just found it really funny that he's like, we won't play the 2 centers ever together, but I'll play these 2 centers together in garbage.
I mean, they're gonna play 2 bigs together when they're all healthy.
Yeah, right.
It's so funny, this team, how different it's going to look when this team gets someone healthy. It's going to be night and day. It's so different.
I have another question for you. When did you put the game on mute? Or did you?
Unfortunately, I had the broadcast on. I mean, it was a brutal broadcast. It's all national broadcasts are going to be terrible from here on out. And we got to remember that, especially ESPN, they treat these broadcasts like a 3-hour-long podcast in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And
what's the biggest topic in the sport right now? So if you're a Mavs fan, you're still hanging on. I would absolutely recommend muting the national broadcast.
We need the league pass option with just the crowd noise and the court noise. Like we finally need that option. I've been wanting that option. I think a lot of people have wanted it for a long time. Like just
we do need that.
Sans announcers would be great at this point. But the Mavs Go ahead.
I mean, I don't like Bob Myers on Warriors game. I think Bob Myers is pretty good in like an in-studio role. I just think the color commentator stuff doesn't fit his skill set.
And it's tough when it's a Warriors game because then he's talking about guys that, well, you want the insight because he's talking about guys that he drafted and he picked and paid and, all that kind of stuff. But the Mavs in this one, they get out to a 9-4 start. You're like, okay, coming out of the gate, all right. And then they just fell flat. I mean, just completely fell flat. We talked about how the offense struggled, but the rebounding issue was massive in this one. And yeah, the Mavs missed a ton of shots. The Warriors are going to get more rebounds, obviously. But 17-8 offensive rebound difference, that's effort. And it's not just big. It's not just the centers. Like Looney had a couple. Quentin Post, their 7-footer for the Warriors, had a couple. But you mentioned Podziemski. Gui Santos had 5 offensive rebounds. Like they were just hustling to the ball. And it felt like the Warriors, maybe it's the bump for the jersey retirement. They had extra oomph. They have extra energy now that they got Jimmy Butler. It feels like they're just a little bit more engaged with this team now, but it felt like they were a podcast when you listen on like 1.25 speed and the Mavericks were on like 1 time speed is what it felt like to me.
Yeah. Again, we have to mention this is it's one thing to talk about, we lost the game. We didn't do X, Y, and Z right. Sometimes you just got to say the other team played really good. Like the Warriors did play a really good basketball game. And like you said, it just kind of felt like, and the Mavs kind of have this problem with afternoon games. I feel like every fan base kind of feels the same. Anytime I see people on Twitter like, afternoon game, I think we've all felt victim to the thinking our team tries less hard.
What was the MLK day? Was the Hornets game where we were like, what is happening to this team right now?
Yeah. Yes. The midday Hornet games are usually never good. The Dallas Mavericks. But no, I mean, the Warriors played really well, and their effort level was high. I mean, they're making their push like this. They're geared. They're locked in, ready to go. Jimmy's looked great, and he gives them exactly what they need, which is just somebody who can put pressure on the rim, get to the free throw line. He sets screens for Curry, on ball, off ball, and it's really difficult for teams to defend, especially a team like the Mavericks today when you don't have any rim protection at all. And so when the Warriors are cutting and they're hitting guys on these cuts, and you got to pay so much attention to Steph Curry, make sure he doesn't get free off a screen for 3, and they're back cutting off of that. and they're sealing guys and cutting off of that. And Klay Thompson's rotating down or Kyrie's rotating down or Kessler Edwards is rotating down. It's difficult. And the Warriors did a great job exploiting that, I thought.
Yeah. And you saw, Klay Thompson has had really good games against the Warriors. This is now his third time returning to Chase Center, and he was brutal in this game. Really, really strong. He ended up hitting 3 threes in that third quarter. He had 11 points, but got a technical in the first 2 minutes of the second quarter, and then after that, I feel like he just was like overplaying on defense. He got the charge. Like, it just was a really, really rough go at it from him. When in the past, when you've played the Warriors, you've gotten good games from Klay Thompson.
Yeah, this feels like for Klay, you want to see those first couple shots go down, especially back in Golden State. I mean, what is this? The 5th time this team's played in Golden State? It feels like every other game this year has been.
Was the third? It's literally the third.
I don't understand it, but yeah, Klay wasn't good today. I mean, not a lot of guys were good today. He was frustrated with the refs. I want to say we're how many minutes into the show? The Mavs got blown out today, whatever. I thought the officiating was horrendous in this game.
It was just wild, like all over the place.
I thought it was awful. The Warriors made a big stink about their game against the Mavs a couple weeks ago. I think the league was probably like, all right, we'll throw you some bones.
give you one. Iguodala's jersey retirement. We'll give you
dreadful. Yeah. Jersey retirement boost, national TV boost at home. I didn't think the whistle was necessarily fair in this one, to be honest with you, but it's not a real excuse.
Mavs had 10 free throws through the first 3 quarters.
Yeah.
Tough.
I mean, there was a point in time where Jimmy Butler had more free throws than the Mavs, and Jimmy only shot a technical free throw.
I think going into the fourth quarter, they had like a 6% foul rate, like free throw rate, which is just bottom of the barrel, just the lowest that you can get. So Mavs didn't get calls, but also I don't think they attacked that well. No. They tried, and like I said, the Warriors just played a little faster, played with a little more energy, played with more intensity, and it really paid off for them. And the Mavs struggled with having just one more guy to create an advantage because the Mavs don't have their advantage right now. Their advantage is supposed to be size. Anthony Davis, Lively, Gafford. You're supposed to have 48 minutes of 7-footers to be able to throw out there, and they have 0 minutes of 7-footers. They have 0 minutes of 6'10" guys right now. They just don't have any size, and that really showed its head today against this team because the Warriors are struggling against size all year. Every time I listen to Locked On Warriors, it's like, man, the Warriors just – they need some size in some way. They were so excited for Quentin Post, who's a 7-footer, to play solidly at least and to give him something. And the Mavs just couldn't take advantage of that.
Well, that's also too, they're missing Kuminga, who's a bigger guy, not a big, obviously, but Jimmy has positional size and he plays fairly big, so that's going to help them out tremendously. But yeah, I've seen, every Mavs loss is going to be a think piece from here on out. And I've seen this is why in the playoffs this team, it's like, well, yeah, if this is the team in the playoffs, they're not going to go far. I mean, I commend their effort. Right. I think they've done a great job just treading water during this stretch, and they've played so hard. And I give so much props to all the players. But I mean, yeah, if this is what their team looks like, and let's just say a world exists where the bigs don't come back, it's going to be really hard to beat anybody. But AD comes back, another big comes back, and like you said, you have that size. You just have somebody to go to in the middle of the floor, Anthony Davis. You can play inside out. You have a legit rim running threats. You have offensive rebounding threats. Like, it's a completely different game. So, it's just hard because it's like it sucks coming out here and being like, I don't know what the takeaway is really long term of a game like this.
Long term is you need to get your advantage back, right? Like that. Exactly. I mean, that's the thing is that you're watching a team without an advantage, and kind of my takeaway is, man, it's been good that the Mavs have gotten 5 out of their last. They won 5 out of their last 7 games, and they've won against Boston, Houston. They beat this Golden State team before. They also beat Miami, which is another solid win. Like, they've got all those wins playing this version of this team, and it kind of makes those look more impressive the way that they played today.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's why we've been singing their praises so much because it is very impressive what they've done during that stretch of wins, and just. That's why those games, like the games against the Pelicans, you got a game coming up against the Hornets. Those games have added importance because it's just you got to win the games that you should win. Like, you have to take care of business in the games you have to take care of business in because, like you said at the top of the show, Vegas had a 9.5 point spread before this game started.
Yeah, they knew.
Right.
They knew they were getting the jersey bump. The jersey retirement bump.
Yeah. They always know. Anytime a Vegas line comes out, I'm like, what are they thinking? They're usually right.
I'm going to give credit to one player in this game. If we're going to say one positive thing, it's PJ Washington, another solid 17-point game. He led them in scoring, 7 of 11 from the field, hit 3 threes. a couple of rebounds, a couple of assists. You mentioned the turnovers. Like, he struggled just like everybody else. They were giving him doubles and stuff like that. But just having him back again, I just felt like it was a positive. All right, you can take this. You can take something from this game and move forward.
Yeah, he's just so important for this team, and it's good to see him hitting threes. It's good to see him confident threes. It is crazy to see him get double teamed on post-ups. Like, that's really interesting that's become a thing that teams are now honing in on. And granted, a game like this against the Mavs where there's not a lot of other options, so you're comfortable double teaming PJ Washington because, like we said earlier, they weren't guarding Naji Marshall. They're not going to guard Kessler Edwards. Like, you're comfortable leaving a few guys open. That is interesting, though. Like, when guys get doubled, usually that opens up things. So I like those reps for PJ to get better at passing out of those and finding the open guy.
Yeah, and hopefully they'll be getting some more guys back. Maybe Dwight Powell next. He was doubtful going into this game, but looks like he's getting closer. Maybe Caleb Martin is getting closer. I don't know.
It's funny when you say it, like, Caleb Martin being on the Mavs hasn't even registered in my brain.
Oh yeah, it's like he's not even been part of anything. It's not even. Well, and also you have the hierarchy of injury, right? It's like, all right, we're waiting for AD to come back.
Yeah.
Then it's Lively and Gafford. Then it's like Dwight Powell. Like, oh, the player that hasn't even played yet, Caleb Martin. He's like fourth down the injury list of players right now.
He's gonna step on the court for the first time and be like, "Whoa, what? Oh, that's right."
When did they?
Like, who's that?
In my mind, Quentin Grimes has just been hurt this whole time, right? Like, it hasn't been.
It's like Grimes changed his jersey number mid-season.
he's coming back, right? Coming up, let's talk about a couple of the guys that struggled in this game. What do we think happened with them? And then also, AD and Martin warmed up before this game. What do we think that means for the Mavs? Talk about that and more coming up. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook has all kinds of props and odds, things that you can use to get in on the action and have some fun with it. I mentioned the Mavs were a 9-point favorite. I'm glad nobody listened to me and took the Mavs 9 points in this game because obviously the Warriors got the jersey bump. There's all kinds of things. You got this Mavs-Lakers game. It was 7 points for the Lakers. Now it is a 7.5 point game in favor of the Lakers. So you can take that. Or if you think this will be one of those so much emotion on the Lakers side, so much emotion for Luka that they blow the game, then go ahead and take them Mavs. They're plus 215. So if you put down $100, you can win $215. And right now, if you only put down $5 on something, you get $150 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. So go check it out. Again, it's FanDuel, official betting partner of the NBA.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
All right, Slightly. Let's get into the rest of this game. We saw Jaden Hardy get some time in this one. He's been in a huge funk. He hit a couple of shots, but he had some turnovers. What do you think? If you're Jason Kidd, what would you do with Hardy the rest of the season?
What you're doing now, unfortunately.
Just throw him in randomly or when you need some offense? Or
Well, I just think he's at the rotation. I don't even look at his minutes today as an indicator that I think it was just, we're down 25 points. Let's mix something up. Maybe Hardy hits a couple threes in a row or something. I don't know. I just think that's kind of where we're at this moment with Hardy. It's
hard to imagine with even especially with Caleb Martin hopefully coming back that he'll be part of the rotation in any way, which is
Exum coming back was realistically the nail in the coffin.
That was it. And if you're going to look for, all right, who are the reasons why the Mavs struggled is, all right, then your next guards up are Exum, Dinwiddie, and kind of Christie too, and they struggled on offense in this game, and so you're just going to struggle with this core. If those three guys struggle, and so Kidd was like, all right, well, my next three guards up are all struggling. Let's try Hardy and see what happens. And it was the same. It felt like the same kind of funk, even though he made a couple shots.
Yeah, and we're not singling anybody out. I mean, this was just a team effort loss today, realistically. But yeah, I mean, the problem is Hardy's such a confidence player, and I thought maybe this could have been good for him. Get out there, get some extended run because the whole second half was garbage time, basically. But 4 turnovers is rough. He did hit a few shots, which is good to see. But it's still some of that, 4 turnovers, 2 of 5 at the free throw line. It's just a big funk that he's in. And I don't know if you could, just trying to be as nice as possible. But the upside of Hardy isn't high enough, I think, currently, for you to like experiment and have him out there during this funk and let him play out of it. That's just not the position that you're in.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you. To go out of your way to try and get him out of this funk, I don't think would be worth it. You got to keep pushing Exum and Dinwiddie and Christie forward. Those are your guards that you're going to have to ride or die with. You didn't get somebody else to be your offensive initiator, so you've got to ride with those guys. PJ as an initiator, Naji as an initiator. And then, I guess you go with Hardy when it's a 25-point game and you feel like you're not going to be able to win the game anyway, and just see if he's got something. Or if you need one more shooter, but don't put him on the ball. Have him just, catch and shoot. The problem is they don't have enough creators to try and just play him off the ball like that at this point in time.
And the other problem is, as a confidence guy, rhythm guy, if you're just asking him to go out there being a catch and shoot guy, hit shots, and he's barely been playing, that's a tough ask of somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think he kind of embodied some of the struggle off the bench and some of the struggle from those guys. Anthony Davis on the bench. A lot of people have been asking, where's AD? Why is AD not on the bench during Mavericks home games and things like that? He was there, traveled the team, looked like he was getting some shots up. I saw Grant Assef posted a video of AD warming up. Looked like he was like taking light shooting, I would call it. I wouldn't call it like a hard workout before the game, but I think warming up, to me, at least signals there's some kind of on-ramp for him, or at least they're working him back, because you'll see this with guys coming back from injury. They'll start warming up before games, go through their normal routine, and start doing that as they look to come back. Now, do I think March 6th he comes back the next day? I still am skeptical about that. But to me, at least, this signals that there's not some secret, all right, well, March 6th is just some kind of like secret date that we're telling Mavs fans. We actually know he's out for the season, right? Like, I think at least this signals to me that there's some hope there.
So I was a 80s out for the season, and they're not telling us yet.
Truther.
I was a truther on that front. I thought that's what they were doing. But yeah, you're not going to have him out there putting shots up and doing all that stuff if that was actually the case. So it does make me feel more confident that he will come back at some point. But I agree with you. I don't think it's going to be soon. They said on the broadcast he was still weeks away. So, and we know Lively's still weeks away. We know Gafford's still weeks away. I mean, that's the problem. This is going to be something this team just deals with for a while, and we're going to continue to bring it up because, I mean, this isn't what the team is.
Just makes the trade so much worse that he's out. The centers are out, and you trade for Caleb Martin. He's out too. Like 2 out of the 3 players you traded for are out with injury, like multiple week injuries.
It makes you think about a curse, because like I've never seen something like this. It's crazy. Like your biggest strength as a team is all out. Like not even one of those guys.
Yeah. Not even Dwight Powell.
Yeah, not even Dwight Powell. Like we're literally sitting here going, man, I wish Dwight Powell was here.
When has Dwight Powell ever been hurt too? Like,
yeah, that's true. Even like it's kind of crazy because Dwight Powell had the Achilles injury. That's such a big injury.
Yeah, that's true.
But it feels like he's come back from that and just been really reliably healthy his whole career. Outside of that,
yeah. Well, so you mentioned the curse. They did trade for 2 injured players. Like Caleb Martin was out, and AD was also dealing with the abductor injury before. So there's some two-faced thing where you make your own luck in a way, where they are kind of doing that with this.
But then Lively and Gafford too.
That's just bad luck. The Gafford one was brutal. Maybe that's overextending Gafford. We had talked about his minutes and overplaying him a lot recently, and then all of a sudden that injury happens. And it was a non-contact too, wasn't Gafford's?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it wasn't like a freak injury. Caleb Martin coming back, I think, is something that we've overlooked. You've even said that you've overlooked it here on the show today. But he also warmed up before the game, and that to me is a good sign, because when you need somebody to play in this small ball lineup, he's somebody that can come in and fit one of those roles. And so to see him warming up, to see him traveling with the team, I think is a positive for him.
Yeah, and I mean, when you're this injured, it's just any rotation player, any NBA player is good and helpful. And yeah, I think his ability to guard up is going to be really important for this team with all their bigs out. And I'm just interested. My like expectations for him aren't sky high. If you just watch the NBA Finals and think that's kind of the Caleb Martin that's going to walk through the door, I really doubt it. But he's a versatile player, and he'll help out this team quite a bit. And what they say it was 2 to 3 weeks when they
I feel like everything is 2 to 3 weeks.
We're getting close to the 3-week mark, so.
I feel like that's all they got.
He plays somewhat soon.
I mean, the trade deadline was what, the 6th?
Feels like it was 2 years ago.
We're 2 weeks and like 3 days removed from the trade deadline right now.
Yeah, and that's about when they said Caleb Martin was 2 to 3 weeks. So,
guys, this hasn't even been a month since the trade. Do you know that?
It feels like it's been a year.
The trade was what? It was Saturday the 1st, like late at night.
It really feels like I've lived life.
3. It's been like 22 days.
Crazy.
I know. So much has happened since then.
Well, it's funny because I remember January, everyone was like, "Oh, January felt like it was 6 months long." I was like, "No, not really. January just kind of came a win for me." And then February's just been the shortest month of the year. Has been the
longest month of our lives. The next time you hear Slightly on this show will be the post Luka game. How are you feeling about that one?
I really don't know what my because I'm not gonna lie to you. I've watched every Lakers game.
Say it, so have I.
My enthusiasm isn't where I thought it would be, to be honest with you.
Enthusiasm in what way?
Like I thought I'd be more like, oh yeah, great, a nice play, a nice shot, nice. But I'm
to
more
Luka.
Like, well, just in general, like I thought I'm happy when Luka does well, but it's just I can't get there with the rest of the Lakers, which is a little surprising to me because I like LeBron as well, like so I'm a little confused. I just think I'm still a Mavs fan, and I'm like, well, if the Lakers lose a few games in a row, the Mavs get hot, you know?
Yeah, it was like a 3.5 point or 3.5 game difference between the two of them before last night.
Yeah, so we'll see. I'm interested. I just feel like it's a foregone conclusion. Luka's going to pop off.
It wasn't until that Denver game the other night because he looked back to Luka form, and I him too. He was going to have a couple games coming back from injury. He always does. The conditioning, the injury itself. It was one of the longest times he's ever been out from an injury mid-season too. So that was an adjustment for him. Then plus the trade was a massive adjustment for him to bounce back. That was a big bounce back against the Nuts. Just a massive, huge Luka. He's going to be so motivated. I mean, Nico Harrison is like independent that game. You can see him. Like if Luka can visibly see him, that is a recipe for disaster for the Mavericks.
I don't think he can be there. I don't think Nico can be in attendance. I think he will be, but I don't think he should be.
Well, that just chalk it up to one more thing that Nico Harrison shouldn't have done this month. That
I think it's gonna be like, Nico, I love you, man. I got you a courtside seat. Like we're gonna get you down there. We'll have you right next to the bench. That way he knows Luka could just stare daggers at him after every shot.
Can we get him? What's a famous LA coffee shop? Do they have one?
Yeah, Starbucks.
What's the donut one? What's the one that was in that was in Iron Man?
Oh, I don't know. I know what you're talking about, but I don't know the name.
Yeah, I don't know what it is either. All right, we'll be back. We got one more show before the Luka game, and so we will talk all about that. We'll be breaking it down. Slightly and I will be here with the post game. Guys, go check out Slightly's great YouTube channel all the time. Great stuff there. Guys, thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs. Peace out. Boom.
This is about to be surreal.
Peace out.